Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through life with a sense of purpose, clarity, and resilience, while others get lost, stuck, or overwhelmed by the chaos of everyday existence? Maybe you felt it yourself. The sense that life is a puzzle and you're missing a few crucial pieces. We all want to live well, to find meaning, to avoid regret. But what if the secret isn't about doing more, achieving more, or even knowing more? What if it's about following a few simple, unbreakable rules that act as a compass, guiding you through every storm, every triumph, every ordinary day? Today, I want to share with you the 3 rules of life you must never break. These aren't just tips or motivational slogans. They're the foundation upon which a meaningful, resilient, and fulfilling life is built. Ignore them, and you risk wandering aimlessly, repeating the same mistakes, and missing out on the richness life has to offer. Embrace them, and you'll find yourself equipped to handle whatever comes your way, with a sense of peace and purpose that can't be shaken. But before we dive into these rules, let's take a step back. Imagine you're standing at a crossroads. The path behind you is familiar, worn by your own footsteps and the choices you've made. The path ahead is shrouded in mist, uncertain and full of possibilities. You can't see where it leads, but you know you have to move forward. What do? How do you choose? How do you make sure you don't get lost? This is where the rules come in. Think of them as the North Star, always there, always guiding, no matter how dark the night or how confusing the journey. They're not about controlling every outcome or predicting the future. They're about giving you a framework, a set of principles that keep you grounded and focused, no matter what life throws at you. Let's start with the first rule. It's deceptively simple, but it's the foundation of everything else. Always be honest with yourself. In a world that constantly tries to shape you, distract you, and pull you in 1,000 different directions, self-honesty is your anchor. It's easy to lie to ourselves, to pretend we're happy when we're not, to ignore the things that make us uncomfortable, to chase after things we don't really want because we think we should. But every time you do that, you drift a little further from your true self. You lose touch with what really matters to you. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'm fine," when you're not? How often have you stayed in a job, a relationship, or a routine that drains you just because it's easier than facing the truth? We all do it. It's human. But the cost is high. When you're not honest with yourself, you can't make good decisions. You can't grow. You can't find real happiness because you're living someone else's life, not your own. Contrast that with the power of self-honesty. When you're willing to look in the mirror and see yourself clearly, flaws, fears, dreams, and all, you gain a kind of freedom that can't be taken away. You stop wasting energy pretending. You start making choices that align with who you really are. You become resilient because you're not afraid to face reality, even when it's hard. But self-honesty isn't just about admitting your weaknesses or mistakes. It's also about recognizing your strengths, your values, your deepest desires. It's about giving yourself permission to want what you want, to need what you need, without shame or apology. It's about being real, even when it's uncomfortable. Of course, being honest with yourself doesn't mean you have to have all the answers. It doesn't mean you never make mistakes. It means you're willing to ask the hard questions, to sit with uncertainty, to keep searching for the truth, even when it's messy or inconvenient. It means you trust yourself enough to face reality and to grow from it. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds great, but it's not always easy. And you're right. Self-honesty takes courage. It takes practice. It means being willing to feel things you'd rather avoid, to admit when you're wrong, to let go of illusions that once made you feel safe. But the alternative, living in denial, pretending, settling for less than you deserve, is far more painful in the long run. So, how do you practice self-honesty? Start by paying attention to your feelings, your thoughts, your reactions. Notice when you're tempted to gloss over the truth, to rationalize, to avoid. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? What do I really want? What am I afraid of? Write it down if you need to. Talk to someone you trust. The more you practice, the easier it gets. And remember, self-honesty isn't about being harsh or critical. It's about being compassionate with yourself, even as you face the truth. It's about accepting yourself as you are, while also being willing to grow and change. It's about giving yourself the gift of clarity, so you can live a life that's true to you. As we move to the second rule, notice how it builds on the first. Once you're honest with yourself, you're ready to take the next step. Honor your commitments. This rule is about integrity, reliability, and trust, not just with others, but with yourself. It's about doing what you say you'll do, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are they're not just talented or successful, they're dependable. You can count on them. Their word means something. In a world where promises are often broken and words are cheap, integrity stands out. It's rare, it's valuable, and it starts with the small things. Showing up on time, keeping your promises, following through on your goals. But honoring your commitments isn't just about keeping your word to others. It's about keeping your word to yourself. How many times have you set a goal, made a resolution, or promised yourself you'd change, only to give up when it got tough? We've all been there. But every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at your own self-trust. You start to doubt your own word. You lose confidence in your ability to follow through. Contrast that with the power of integrity. When you honor your commitments, you build trust, not just with others, but with yourself. You become someone you can rely on. You develop discipline, resilience, and self-respect. You start to believe in your own ability to create change, to overcome obstacles, to achieve your goals. But let's be honest, honoring your commitments isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it means doing the boring, difficult, or uncomfortable thing when you'd rather take the easy way out. It means showing up for yourself and others, even when motivation fades or obstacles appear. It means being the kind of person who can be counted on, not just when things are going well, but especially when they're not. Imagine for a moment two versions of yourself. In one version, you make promises lightly, break them when it's convenient, and let yourself off the hook when things get tough. In the other, you treat your word as sacred. You follow through, even when it's inconvenient. You build a reputation for reliability, not just with others, but in your own eyes. Which version do you think will achieve more, feel more confident, and earn more respect? The answer is obvious, but the difference is profound. There's a hidden power in small commitments. When you decide to wake up early, to exercise, to finish a project, or to call a friend, and you actually do it, you send a message to yourself, I can trust me. Over time, these small acts of integrity add up. They become the foundation of your self-esteem, your relationships, and your success. You start to see yourself as someone who gets things done, who doesn't quit, who can be counted on. And that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But what about when you fail? Because, let's face it, we all do. We all make mistakes, break promises, or fall short sometimes. The key isn't to be perfect, it's to be accountable. When you mess up, own it. Apologize if you need to. Make it right if you can. And most importantly, recommit. Don't use failure as an excuse to give up. Use it as a lesson, a chance to grow stronger, more disciplined, more reliable. There's a story about a young samurai who once asked his master, "What is the secret to becoming a great warrior?" The master replied, "Fall down 7 times, get up 8. The lesson is simple. Greatness isn't about never failing. It's about never giving up. It's about honoring your commitment to keep going, no matter how many times you stumble. This brings us to the third rule, the one that ties everything together. Treat others with kindness and respect. In a world that often feels divided, competitive, and harsh, kindness is a superpower. It's easy to be cynical, to look out only for yourself, to see others as obstacles or competitors. But the truth is, we're all in this together. Every person you meet is fighting their own battles, carrying their own burdens, dreaming their own dreams. Contrast the impact of kindness with the impact of indifference or cruelty. A harsh word can linger for years, shaping someone's self-image, their confidence, their sense of belonging. But a kind word, a small act of generosity, a moment of understanding, these can change a life. They can heal wounds, build bridges, and create a ripple effect that spreads far beyond what you can see. Kindness isn't weakness. It's not about letting people walk all over you or ignoring your own needs. It's about recognizing the humanity in others, even when you disagree, even when you're hurt or frustrated. It's about choosing empathy over judgment, compassion over criticism, connection over isolation. Think about the people who have made the biggest difference in your life. Chances are, it wasn't their achievements or their status that mattered most. It was the way they made you feel seen, valued, understood. That's the power of kindness. It's the glue that holds relationships, families, and communities together. It's the foundation of trust, cooperation, and belonging. But kindness isn't just about grand gestures. It's about the little things, the smile you give a stranger, the patience you show a coworker, the encouragement you offer a friend. It's about listening without interrupting, forgiving without holding grudges, helping without expecting anything in return. These small acts add up, creating a culture of respect and care that benefits everyone, including you. Of course, kindness isn't always easy. Sometimes people are rude, ungrateful, or even hurtful. Sometimes you feel exhausted, stressed, or misunderstood. But that's when kindness matters most. It's easy to be kind when life is smooth and everyone is friendly. The real test is how you treat others when things are tough, when you're tired, when you feel like giving up. There's a story about a wise old woman who lived in a small village. Every day, she would walk to the market carrying a basket of fresh bread. She would give a loaf to anyone who was hungry, no questions asked. Some people thanked her, others took the bread and walked away without a word. One day, a young man asked her, "Why do you keep giving, even when people don't appreciate it?" She smiled and said, "Kindness is its own reward. I give because it's who I am, not because of what I get in return." That's the heart of the third rule. Kindness isn't a transaction. It's a way of being. It's a choice you make over and over, not because you expect something back, but because it's the right thing to do. And the truth is, the more you give, the more you receive, not always in obvious ways, but in the richness of your relationships, the peace of your mind, the strength of your character. So let's recap. The three rules of life you must never break are: be honest with yourself, honor your commitments, and treat others with kindness and respect. Simple, right? But don't mistake simplicity for weakness. These rules are powerful because they're universal. They apply to every situation, every relationship, every stage of life. They're the foundation of trust, growth, and connection. But here's the thing, knowing the rules isn't enough. You have to live them. You have to practice them day in and day out, especially when it's hard, especially when no one is watching. That's where the real transformation happens. That's where you become the kind of person who not only survives, but thrives. You might be wondering, what if I mess up? What if I break one of the rules? The answer is simple. Forgive yourself, learn from it, and start again. Life isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming a little better, a little wiser, a little kinder every day. If you take nothing else from this, remember, the rules are not there to restrict you, but to set you free. They're not chains, but wings. When you're honest with yourself, you are no longer trapped by denial or self-deception. When you honor your commitments, you are no longer at the mercy of fleeting moods or outside pressures. When you treat others with kindness and respect, you are no longer isolated by suspicion or resentment. Instead, you become someone who moves through the world with clarity, confidence, and compassion. Let's imagine, for a moment, a world where everyone lived by these three rules. Imagine workplaces where people spoke the truth, even when it was hard, and trusted each other to follow through. Imagine families where promises were kept, where children learned by example that their word matters, and where kindness was the default, not the exception. Imagine communities where people looked out for one another, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. It might sound idealistic, but every great change in history began with a simple idea, lived out by ordinary people, one day at a time. You have the power to be one of those people. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You can start right now, wherever you are, with whatever you have. The next time you're tempted to ignore your feelings, pause and ask yourself what's really true. The next time you make a promise, big or small, treat it as sacred. The next time you interact with someone, anyone, choose kindness, even if it's just a smile or a word of encouragement. And when you stumble, as we all do, remember that every day is a new chance to begin again. The rules are not about never falling. They're about always getting back up. They're about choosing over and over to live with integrity, to honor your word, and to treat others with the dignity they deserve. In the end, the three rules of life you must never break are not just about what you do, they're about who you become. They shape your character, your relationships, your legacy. They are the quiet force that turns ordinary days into extraordinary lives. And the best part? You don't have to wait for anyone else to start. You could be the example. You could be the change. So, as you move forward from this moment, ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? What kind of person do I want to be? The answer is in your hands, in your choices, in the rules you choose to follow. Be honest with yourself. Honor your commitments. Treat others with kindness and respect. These are the rules of life you must never break. And if you do, you'll find that life, in all its complexity and beauty, will open up to you in ways you never imagined.